Hello, my name is Dr. Scott Eric Hamilton. This presentation, Writing Analytically, is from the Writing Center here in University College Dublin. This presentation aims to define analysis and its function in academic writing, to understand the purpose of writing analytically, to identify writing modes required for producing analysis, to differentiate between descriptive and analytical writing, to examine the ways the form of an essay or other pieces of writing which promotes analytical writing, and finally to discuss how to begin an approach to writing analytically. So the best place to begin is to ask, what is analysis? As in this slide, Hooper indicates, the word analysis derives from the Greek term meaning to take apart. In the contemporary academic context, we take this to mean to deconstruct something methodically, in order to generate a more intricate understanding of what it is being analyzed. So what does it mean to analyze something? To analyze a given topic or issue is to generate knowledge of that topic or issue by presenting research claims of significance, of the different parts of that topic or issue within an intended context. The formal written account of the process of research and analysis in an essay, dissertation, or thesis can be thought of as a narrative account of your scholarly investigation. And ultimately, the purpose of writing this analytical-based narrative is to contribute to the ongoing discourse of your discipline. As this contribution occurs at the undergraduate, postgraduate, and professional academic levels, it's important to focus on constantly improving your writing. You may be asking what I mean by academic narrative. As the definition here indicates, because you cannot present every step of your investigation, your writing becomes a condensed account which represents the overall effort. Therefore, it is important to present that narrative account as explicitly as possible, so the reader cannot interpret your argument in any other way than intended. This narrative account will consist of three modes of writing: that's descriptive, explanative, and argumentative. And now I will define those for you. Description or descriptive writing is a detailed informative account of an observed object or phenomenon. That is, an overall view of the topic or the thing that is to be analyzed. I will use SpaceX as an example. SpaceX is the first privately owned company to produce and launch an orbital rocket into space. In this case, the company SpaceX, as a privately owned commercial space exploration company, is the object to be analyzed in order to understand its significance in the context of the future of commercial activity in outer space. So that is the object to be analyzed. Let's look at explanation. This can be thought of as an account of the causality of a thing or phenomenon made valid by statements which carry the strength of natural law. Once the object has been identified, it is important to explain the reasons for or causality of the existence of that object. This mode of writing contributes to validating the need for analysis. So in our example, SpaceX made history by launching the first privately owned orbital rocket in 2010 and then another one in 2012. In our example, the object is SpaceX. The explanation for this object or phenomenon is that SpaceX has made a significant advancement for space exploration activities. SpaceX has made history by launching the first privately owned orbital rocket. That explains why SpaceX is important for analysis. In terms of providing an argument, argumentation is the significance of the object or phenomenon as related to a specific context or intent. As the description and explanation of the object is vital for providing an analysis, it is the argument or the analytical discussion which contributes to the understanding of the topic as it relates to your field of study. So in terms of providing an argument for significance, in this slide, the SpaceX launches and technological developments have initiated an era of commercialized space exploration, bringing with it ethical considerations. And these are laid out in the slide. So we're looking at the ethics of SpaceX. Ultimately, the intentions of SpaceX for future activity exposes the ineffectiveness of the 1967 Outer Space Treaty that attempts to govern international missions in space. The argument in this case claims that the significance of these activities relates to laws which govern individual sovereign nations and the ethics which go with those. So the next step is to understand what is analytical writing, what is not, and how to identify the difference. So we're now going to look at analytical writing versus descriptive and explanative writing. As the chart shows, descriptive writing serves specific functions. It states what happens. It gives the story thus far. It states a specific method, explains what a theory is. It lists things that need to be listed. It states links. It gives information. Whereas critical or analytical writing, as already mentioned, identifies significance. It also identifies importance and draws reasonable conclusions based on research. The MLA Handbook, 7th edition, notes that good scholarship requires objectivity, and the careful writers of research papers avoid language that implies unsubstantiated or irrelevant generalizations. Overly generalized statements can hinder analytical writing. These hindrances usually come with excessive description or explanation. Let's look at the following model as an example. So in this model, we're wondering, is this descriptive or analytical? As you can see, this model is concerned with data related to the effectiveness of a specific procedure. However, it is ultimately descriptive. In this version, you can see that more information is given. This version provides more discussion on significance. The statement, Procedure A is recommended to be implemented as standard operating procedure, provides a resolution for which procedure is better for implementing as standard practice. This is the significance in the related context. Now I'd like to look at the form of analytical writing and how it contributes to making such claims. On this slide, you'll see a form for the standard essay. It provides an introduction, which gives the overview of the topic, identifies a specific issue or question to solve. It then gives the thesis, that which will be argued, and then the methodology for the essay. The following body sections include a topic sentence, specific point, evidence, examples, and then the critical analysis of the evidence, and is repeated in each body section with a standard conclusion as well. Now I'd like to break down these different sections for you. The topic sentence states the specific focus of the section to be examined. This happens with each section. The specific point, then, identifies the issue within the topic as it relates to the essay and the thesis as a whole. The evidence provides supporting materials which validate the issue, and then it gives examples. There are specific materials which embody the issue. And then comes the critical analysis. This examines the above to provide the significance of the materials, to further prove validity of the thesis statement, an analytical stance of the section and the essay as a whole. So let's look at another model as an example. This slide deals with a hypothetical text and a concept which it is promoting. Is this passage about the text and the concept descriptive or analytical? Hopefully, as you will see concerning the last model, that this passage is mainly descriptive. As you can see in the breakdown here, it starts with description, and it gives explanation of that description only with no discussion of significance. In this version, the sections in blue contribute to the analysis. The first part is description of the topic sentence, which then gives explanation of that. The second part is a specific point, which followed by the explanation of that point. After that is the argument, which concludes that text A, in the time which it was written, the concept can be evaluated critically in new ways, expanding its viability to other socio-academic spheres of investigation, such as whatever hypothetical socio-political issue you wish to examine. This proves the significance of the concept goes far beyond what is commonly thought. That can be an argument in itself. I'd now like to look at a quick example in terms of how to establish the answer to a question. I'd like to look at The Trial by Franz Kafka. To provide a little background, the novel The Trial, originally published in 1925, is a modernist text in which the protagonist, Joseph K., is arrested by an unspecified agency for an unspecified crime. So let's look at the following statements, and which one is a clear articulation of an argument. This essay will consider Kafka's The Trial as a modernist portrayal of judicial process, or this essay will examine Kafka's novel The Trial as a criticism of justice and the social implications regarding the absurdity of maintaining antiquated judicial process within the era of modernism. Hopefully you can see that the second one provides more context and provides a critical stance on which the novel can be thought, whereas the first claim is a mere description of the book. So that brings the question, what is the function of description analytical writing? Descriptive writing is useful for the setting of the general context for which you'll be providing your analysis. It also provides an overview of the evidence, which is very beneficial for setting up your analysis. In your conclusion, it provides a brief account of your thesis before presenting your final point. But be careful of over-relying on summary once you have established the general context. So where to begin to provide analysis? First, it is useful to establish a research question. So once you have your research question, writing analytically actually begins with reading and observing analytically. Analytical observation includes looking for patterns of repetition or presence, identifying organizing patterns, investigating anomalies. Once the above are identified and your research performed, you will then begin to write about each explicitly, discussing the relevance to your overall argument. One thing you can do to ensure that your writing is analytical is to make sure your personal judgments have been avoided. Provide your readers with a critical stance or position with which they can engage. So let's look at these two examples. Which one is position and which one is opinion? Clearly, the first one is opinion, because words like beautiful, amazing, I feel, and great are expressions of personal judgment or value, whereas the second one is more objective. Architecturally, the building is a prime example of the effectiveness of integrating new design techniques and alternative materials. As such, the ecologically conscious techniques would be more widely beneficial if adopted into city planning regulations. In this claim, there are no feelings of beauty or how amazing something is or how great it is. It is very objective and can be engaged with within a specific audience. Another way to improve your analytical writing is to become aware of how academics analyze topics in the sources you are reading. Identify description, explanation, argument after reading for comprehension. In other words, read published material and identify the different aspects and different modes of writing therein. At this point, I'd like to return to structure. As Beckett once wrote, form is content, content is form. And again, here's the basic form of the essay we used earlier. I'd like to just highlight section 2, the body. The topic sentence and the specific point fall under description. Evidence falls under the explanation, and only the critical analysis of that evidence is argument. I would like to look at this essay by Jeffrey Bayham concerning The Daily Show. In the abstract, you can clearly discern the description, the explanation, and the argument. The argument being that The Daily Show can teach us about the possibilities of political journalism in the 21st century. Bayham's essay is divided into 5 sections. The introduction outlines crisis in broadcast journalism. The second section locates The Daily Show within an emerging media environment. Section 3 provides an interpretive reading of The Daily Show as an experiment in journalism, where the fourth section establishes The Daily Show as a form of critical inquiry. Section 5 posits critical inquiry as a model of deliberative democracy, and the final section examines the possibilities of political journalism in the 21st century through The Daily Show. So let's look at the final section and evaluate its effectiveness in promoting a specific way to think about The Daily Show within the context of political journalism in the 21st century. These are the first 2 paragraphs of the final section. The first paragraph is made up completely of description and explanation, which summarizes the points made previously. The next paragraph provides further explanation within the explicit argument. Boehm claims that, never claiming to be news, The Daily Show can hardly be charged with being illegitimate journalism, either by the political structures it interrogates or the news media it threatens. Boehm is very explicit in the fact that The Daily Show interrogates and threatens official news media. And this is a very specific way to think about the show within the context in which he's talking about. This slide shows the last two paragraphs of the section. These concluding paragraphs, in my opinion, are less effective than the previous opening paragraphs just examined. They are less effective because the claims are not as explicit as the final sentence of the previous slide. Although the first paragraph provides vital explanation, the last sentence of the second paragraph, The Daily Show thus offers a lesson in the possibility to which all students of journalism, political communication, and public discourse would be wise to pay attention, is not quite as explicit. These lessons are left open to interpretation. Whereas the final sentence of the previous slide, never claiming to be news, The Daily Show can hardly be charged with being illegitimate journalism, neither by the political structures it interrogates or the news media it threatens, is more explicit in the significance of the show within the context. I'd like to now look at another hypothetical example. In the following, we'll identify the topic sentence, explanatory material, and the analysis. As you can see on this slide, the topic is concerned with climate change as a divisive topic. So let's evaluate the section. There's the clear topic sentence about climate change as a divisive topic. There's a specific point regarding how the topic guides public education policy. The author uses evidence from a specific study. However, there's no analysis. There's no substantial discussion on the significance in any specific reason. So avoid allowing the explanation of others to stand in for the argument, which happens in this example. The specific political topic is vague and therefore open to interpretation. However, let's look at this version. In this version, as you can see, the added content in blue is the analysis, the argument for the significance of understanding the material thus examined. Let's evaluate this version. You can see the analysis talks about the way politicians exploit the divisiveness of the topic in a way to manipulate their voter base and therefore govern educational practices. This is a hypothetical claim for significance. It provides the reader a way to think about the material examined and is therefore an argument. So let's review. Analytical writing presents a critical analysis based on research, evaluation, and argument construction. To quote Hooper, a critical analysis does not just give information, but also makes an argument for a particular way of understanding the information. Much like the last claim of the previous example, seen here on the slide. Let's look at one final example on how an argument and analysis can provide a specific way to understand information. Let's look at Enda Duffy's The Modernist Speed Handbook. He claims this book argues two positions. First, that access to new speeds, whether on roller coaster, airplane, but especially with the automobile, has been the most empowering and excruciating new experience for people everywhere in 20th century modernity. And second, that this experience should be thought of as political. In case he wasn't clear enough, Duffy reiterates a few pages later. Remember the two claims. First, speed is the new single pleasure invented by modernity. Second, the experience of speed is political. Duffy's argument here is intended to modify our thinking regarding speed and modernity as a political experience, and not just in relation to history or art or architecture. This does add a new way of thinking about the whole topic. So, in order to write analytically, a balance of descriptive, explanative, and argumentative modes of writing must be incorporated to produce effective, detailed-oriented scholarship. In order to ensure you're writing analytically, you can ask yourself specific questions, much like those in the following slide. which are examples but not an exhaustive list. The majority of these questions, indeed, assist to ensure you are working to present an effective analysis. However, a question like the last one is the most important, in that it will help to ensure that your analytical writing convinces your audience of the significance of the insight provided and the validity of your scholarly contribution. Thank you for watching this presentation on Writing Analytically, provided by the Writing Center here in University College Dublin.